So this is going to be a scary video to make because I know that there are people out there that will judge me, and I care way too much what people think, and I am trying to teach myself how to stop that anyway. But it's a video that I have wanted to make for years now, and I just never knew quite what to say, and I don't know, but I think now is the perfect time to make the video because last night I was having a cathartic cry after watching a particular episode of PB&J Otter on Disney Plus that brought back some really special memories from my preteen and teen years. So when I was 11 years old, I started watching Disney Channel. Like, I've always loved Disney ever since I was little, like, because I loved Snow White and Cinderella and all the Disney princesses. But then I found we had Disney Channel on our TV, and I started watching it, and soon after I discovered Playhouse Disney. And if you don't know, by the way, I'm autistic. So one of my autistic traits is childlike tendencies, and I tend to like things that are, geared towards people who are younger than me, but like that's just me. But I discovered Playhouse Disney, and one of the shows that really got me was Bear in the Big Blue House. I loved all the shows. I loved Bear in the Big Blue House, Roly Poly Oly, PB&J Otter, Out of the Box, all of those amazing shows. Sing Me a Story with Belle, Amazing Animals, Katie and Orby. I mean, like, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you might not remember because this was like late 90s, early 2000s. But these were amazing shows, and they were a huge comfort to me. And I honestly did not realize just how badly I needed these shows, especially Bear in the Big Blue House, because it got me through some of the toughest years of my life, because I was heavily bullied in school. 6th and 7th grade, they were okay. Those 2 years were okay. But 8th grade is when it started to get bad again. Basically, I became a teenager. I became hormonal, even more emotional than usual. Like, basically, if you, at least for me, this is, if you combine being an emotional teenage girl with being autistic, and one of your autistic traits is super sensitivity. Yeah, like pretty much everything hurts. Ugh, it was not fun. But yeah, like 8th grade and then high school is when things started to get really bad. And I would get bullied by not just other kids, but I got bullied by some adults too. And I'm not going to go into details about everything, although I will talk about some of the stuff that happened. But Bear in the Big Blue House was the main source of comfort for me, and my absolute favorite character. I love all the characters in the show. All of them are wonderful, and they are great sources of comfort for me, but my absolute favorite character is Ojo, and I still have my Ojo plushie that my grandparents on my dad's side of the family got for me when I was 13. And I still love Ojo. I still think she's special. She's I was just, like, I remember the first time I watched Bear in the Big Blue House, it was a couple of days after Christmas in 1998. And it was the If at First You Don't Succeed episode where Ojo wants to try and be a big bear, just like Bear. She's trying to be all grown up and everything, and it's an awesome episode. And I just remember really loving her voice. Like I was drawn to her voice. And then, like I started watching more and more episodes and just realized how special Ojo really is, like how much I really like Ojo. And I I actually want to explain something. Growing up, I didn't have my siblings with me, like for a majority of my childhood and my teen years. See, my grandparents raised me. My grandparents on my mom's side, they've raised me since I was a toddler, you know, and it's because like my mom was really young when she had me, and she couldn't really afford to raise me on her own. And my birth father died when I was little, like when I was a baby, like I didn't know him. And I think my mom did try to raise me for a little while, and she just, she couldn't afford it. Um, so she made the sacrifice to have my grandparents raise me while still having a relationship with me, which was awesome. And then she got married to a a real peach of a person. And I'm not going to say names because I don't want to put anyone on blast, but basically she had 3 other kids with him. And I oh my gosh, I love my siblings so much. I love them so much. They mean so much to me. Oh my gosh, they're amazing people. I love them so much. And but when I was around 8, her then husband, um he was in the military, and they had to move away really really far. And that meant, like, because my siblings lived with my mom and then stepdad. And I I didn't really get to see them grow up. I mean, I did get to see them like for the first few years of my life until they moved away. But they came back a couple of years later, and then they moved somewhere else, but at least this was a place that they could drive from and come see me. So I got to see my mom more. But it only lasted a couple of years, and then they moved back to the faraway place. I just don't want to mention places or names because I don't want to put anyone on blast, and I just want to be careful. But they moved back to the really really far away place, and I was 14. I remember that morning. I remember that painful morning when I had to say goodbye to my mom and my siblings again, and seeing my mom crying in my granddad's arms, and even seeing my grandmother cry. Like, that was so hard. That was painful. And I didn't have my siblings, like I didn't have my siblings with me for like a majority of my childhood. And I felt really alone because I was in a world where I was different from everyone else, and people just didn't understand me. And I didn't even know that I was autistic then. I didn't know until I was almost 16. And even then, it took me years to understand it. But I was I always just felt out of place because everyone just saw me as, I don't know, the weirdo, or, like the one to laugh at, or, like I was constantly criticized for everything about me. Like, you're too sensitive, you're too pale skinned, or whatever, you're too fat, you need to lose weight, like you're the R word. I was called the R word a lot, and I was just basically viewed as a poop stain by a lot of people, like just basically treated like a poop stain, or maybe like an obstacle or a burden, just an inconvenience and all sorts of crap. And people even thought that I was a terrible person and like told me so, and I believed that. I internalized that. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but I just felt really alone. And like I had friends, but I didn't feel like I belonged with them. I didn't feel, I don't know, I just felt really alone. Even if I was sitting with a group of friends at lunch, or even if I, was talking to a friend on the phone, I just felt alone. And Ojo was there for me. I could always cuddle up with Ojo and tell her about my day. When I had a terrible day, I would often come home from school in tears. And I actually remember, like there were some times when I'd be so upset by something that happened in school that, like when I would have the house to myself, I would come home and just scream. Like I would scream, vent. I would, like say everything that was bugging me and just let it all out in screams and sobs and, like whatever it was. Ojo saw it all, and she, like, people would tell me, Ojo's not real and stuff like that. But it didn't matter because she was real to me. She was absolutely real to me, and she still is. She's still real to me. I know that she is a character in a show, but for me, as a teenager, she was a lifeline. And I know that sounds crazy, but I don't really care. Honestly, I'm really trying to stop caring so much what people think, because if something is important to me, then I just, I need to not only embrace it, but not be afraid to share it, and if anyone judges me, excuse me, if anyone judges me for it, they can go pound sand. That's what I need to remember. People who judge me, they need to just go pound sand. But okay, this video is all over the place because I'm just basically pouring out my thoughts and my feelings. But Ojo was more than just like a comforting character to me, more than a friend, honestly. She was the big sister that I wanted, that I always wanted, because I just felt like, because I'm the oldest of my siblings, and I just wanted, like that, kind of like that big sister figure as well, like to lean on, and someone who was just really nurturing, and someone who was really accepting and loving, and someone I could just be myself around and not feel judged and not feel out of place and not feel like there was something wrong with me. And so I made Ojo my big sister, even though her character was probably younger than me. Again, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Ojo was my big sister, and you know, like I said, she was my comfort. I would always like imagine that she would, be saying all these sweet, validating things to me and affirmations that I needed so badly that I never got. And giving me all these cuddles that I really needed. I got great hugs from my family, don't get me wrong. But I guess, there were some times, where there were a lot of times where that there were things that I just couldn't tell anyone, not my family, not even my friends, that I could tell Ojo and just cuddle up with her and just cry it out and just be completely vulnerable with Ojo. And I would often imagine that she would be not just comforting me and saying sweet things to me and uplifting things to me, but I would imagine that she would also sing to me. Because, as you know, like music is a huge comfort for me. Like it always has been. It's always been a comfort. Like for me, like when I sing a song that says how I'm feeling, it's so therapeutic. When I listen to a song that describes my feelings, it's amazing. Or when I hear a song that, is like offers words of comfort in time of need. And also just like one thing I really loved was imagining that Ojo would be singing these beautiful uplifting songs to me with like these beautiful melodies, just to make me feel comforted and to make me feel like I was loved and I was wanted, because I felt in like I felt, not only did I feel out of place, I felt unwanted. I felt unloved. I mean, I know that's not true because my family loved me, even though they didn't understand me back then. They loved me but I felt like there was just like everything was wrong with me. And Ojo was the one place where I felt like there was nothing wrong with me. I just felt safe, and I just felt like I could just let my hair down and just let it loose and just be myself and just be goofy with her too and be silly and act like a complete dorko and just not give a crap. And of course, like people caught on to this, and they didn't like it because they didn't like that I was like 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, 15, like I was a teenage girl. They basically saw me as a teenage girl obsessed with something that was meant for small children, and they said, you need to grow up, you need to let this go, blah blah blah. And like even my like my family was in on it, and like I guess they thought that they were helping, I guess, because I want to say something about, like my family before anyone jumps in and starts bashing them, because they are wonderful people. They just didn't understand back then. They understand now. They understand now because I sat down and talked to them about it and told them my feelings. And they've learned a lot about me since. But my grandparents saw my mother and aunt and uncle being bullied heavily in school because they were quote unquote different. And they wanted to protect me from it. So they wanted me to try and be like the other kids. Because they thought, if no one laughs at me, then I will be, accepted and I won't get hurt. and their intentions were really good, and definitely I appreciate them. But that they would tell me, like, don't do this because people will laugh at you. Don't do that. People will make fun of you and judge you and stuff like that. I mean, they were right about that, but I think what I needed was to be taught that it didn't matter what people thought. And if people wanted to make fun of me for that, that's a them problem, not a me problem. And they get that now. They absolutely get that now, because I've just sat down and just had like a heart to heart with them. Like, I've had lots of heart to hearts with them, and we've come such a long way in our relationship, and it's amazing. They are amazing people, and I love my family so much. I love them because they're the kinds of people that, like, if you sit down and talk to them and you tell them how you're feeling, they will listen. They listen, and I wish that I would have talked to them a long time ago and told them these feelings. But I was a kid, and I felt like, like, as a kid, I felt like, well, I just have to do what the grown-ups tell me to, or I have to, I just have to take it. Or I was afraid of, I was afraid of what they would say. But now I know better, and I know that they would have, they would have absolutely listened to me if I just sat down and told them, this is why I'm like this, and I just want to be accepted. But also, I didn't realize that they were trying to protect me. I do realize that now, and have for a long time. But however, that there were people, and there were some teachers, actually. And again, I'm not going to name names, because even though these people really hurt me, I'm not going to put them on blast, and I don't want people going after them. And but anyway, there were some teachers in high school who gave me crap about Ojo, because sometimes I would have pictures of Ojo, in my book bag to look at, when I needed comfort. And they would get on me for it. And I remember one teacher in particular, and again, I'm not going to say her name, but it was a teacher that, I thought that I could trust. And I had opened up to her about Ojo, because she gave off that vibe that I could trust her. And then one day she pulled me aside and told me, you need to let Ojo go. You're 16 and blah, blah, blah. You're too old for this. The same BS. And she, like, I mean, the things that she said just hurt me so deeply. And she even got other teachers involved. Like, she said, I've talked to so-and-so about this. My case manager. She got my case manager involved. She got other teachers, like, other teachers were involved, and other teachers knew about this and backed her up. And anyone who saw me with a picture of Ojo, they would tell me, you need to put that away or you'll get in trouble. And it was devastating. I remember going home that afternoon, and I actually had a screaming fit. I was at home by myself. I was so angry. I was so hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt like, remembering this is so painful. Like, it's so painful because it was a betrayal of my trust, and it was also a punch in the gut for me, because, but yeah, I had a screaming fit when I got home. I just screamed all my feelings and sobs and basically I was saying, I'm not letting Ojo go. I'm not letting Ojo go. You can't take Ojo away from me. You know, like I was upset. Oh my gosh, I was devastated. And I realized later in life why I clung on to Ojo so much. I mean, not just because I wanted, like the big sister figure who was like nurturing and a safe place, but I'm going to sound like a complete drama queen when I say this. And I'm not trying to, because I mean this. I absolutely mean this. Adolescence was hell. It was absolute hell for me. It was miserable. I hated it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I had no good times during those years, because I did. A lot of them were because of Ojo. And some of them were because I discovered my love of music, which I'll talk about in another video. But I had so many miserable times. Those were some of the toughest years of my life, because I truly felt like there was something wrong with me. And I just felt unwanted. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt all sorts of awful things. And I can honestly say without a doubt, and call me a drama queen if you want, but you know what? If you're going to call me that, you might as well just go pound sand, because you didn't live in my life. You didn't live my life. You didn't go through what I went through. So you really don't have room to talk if you're going to judge me. I would have, and I'm trigger warning, major trigger warning, major trigger warning. I would have committed suicide if it wasn't for Ojo. I would have unalived myself, because I felt worthless and because I felt alone. And Ojo made me feel less alone. She made me feel like I wasn't worthless. She was truly my lifeline and my safe space. That's why it was so devastating for that teacher and all those other teachers to give me so much hell about Ojo and tell me to let her go and try and take her away from me. Because they weren't just taking something that I liked away from me. They were trying to take my lifeline. And I am like, over the past couple of years in therapy, I realized just how bullied I was, not just by kids, but by some adults. There were a lot of adults who bullied me and treated me like the bad seed, or treated me like there was something wrong with me, or nothing I did was right. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Like I was just always treated like, basically like a walking shit stain. That's how I was treated. I was treated like a walking shit stain, and that's how I felt. And I believed everything that was said to me, that, oh, there's this wrong with you, there's that wrong with you. I believed it, and I still struggle with believing that. But I am alive today, and I am working on all this trauma because of Ojo. She was the one that started all this healing for me, and like this growth, because she kept me alive during the toughest years of my life. And last night I was watching PB&J Otter, which, like Ojo was not a character in that show, but it was one of the shows, that I loved watching, like during Playhouse Disney. And I'm so glad that Bear in the Big Blue House and PB&J Otter and Roly Poly Oly and Out of the Box are now on Disney Plus. And I was watching PB&J Otter, and the episode that I was watching was Save Okie Oak Tree. And that episode actually made me cry. Like, because after I finished watching the episode, I just went into my room and grabbed my Ojo plushie and just hugged her and just sobbed and just kept saying, I love you, Ojo. I love you, Ojo. And that's when I had a huge cathartic cry. Like, I could not stop crying because that show brought back the good memories of like those couple of hours where I would feel safe from the world. I would feel like everything is okay. I would feel carefree and happy just for those few hours of like watching Playhouse Disney whenever I got the chance, and like all the weekends and all the days I was off of school, like for summer break, Christmas break, spring break, you name it, like every chance I got, I'd be watching Bear in the Big Blue House and PB&J Otter and all those amazing shows. And I felt like I was in a world where I belonged. I felt like I was in a safe place. I felt like I was part of those families. I felt like I belonged in the Big Blue House or on Lake Hoo-Ha, in PB&J Otter, or Polyville and Roly Poly Oly. I felt like I belonged there, and I felt like it was almost like the characters were all like my friends, and they were my safe place, and they were what was keeping me going. And I've been wanting to make this video for so long because this is so important to me. And now I have Smeagol, along with having Ojo, I have Smeagol, and he's special to me too. Like every time I go through something so hard, God just blesses me with something really special. First it was Ojo, and then it was Celtic Woman, and then it was Smeagol. Because I don't know, it's just I would love it if this video got back to Noel McNeil, the guy who played Bear in Bear in the Big Blue House. And if it got to Vicky Ebner or Eibner, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she was the lady who played Ojo. She was the puppeteer who she played Ojo, and she did her voice, and if I ever got to meet them in person, all of the cast would be great, but especially those two, and especially Vicky, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have experienced all these amazing things that have happened in my life. Discovering Celtic Woman, getting to meet them so many times, and going to Ireland twice, and finding Smeagol from Lord of the Rings too, and finding amazing friends who do accept me and who do love me, and finally being able to open up to my family, all those years, and tell them my real feelings, and tell them how I just want to be accepted. I don't want to be like the other people. I don't want to be like the other kids or like everyone else. I just wanted to be accepted the way I am and not care what people think. And that's a behavior that I'm still trying to learn, or unlearn, I should say. Even like 17, 18 years later, I'm 35 years old now, and I'm still struggling with that, but I'm working on it very hard, like in therapy. It was actually Smeagol that inspired me to reach out to a therapist a couple of years ago, and I've been in therapy since, and it's helped me so much. And I think that it's given me the courage to make this video. And it would just mean so much if this video got back to Noel and Vicky. And because I just want to thank them. I want to thank them for getting me through the toughest years of my life and keeping me alive. And honestly, like even when those teachers tried to take Ojo away from me, they didn't win. I didn't let them. And my grandparents eventually understood that Ojo was special to me. And, and I just realized how lucky I am to have such an amazing family. Like my grandparents, everyone in my family who I could just sit down and talk to and tell them how I feel, and they listen. They'll listen to me when I open up to them about something, or I tell them, when you did that, that made me feel XYZ, like they listen. It's still scary to open up and tell people how you're feeling. At least for me it is. But it's so cathartic, when you open up and they listen and they're receptive, and then you end the conversation with a big fluffy sweater hug, and it's, I don't know, it's just, I'm honestly really glad that I made this video. And I am definitely working on trying to forgive those teachers. It's going to take some time, because I realized only recently how angry I am at them, but I'm not the kind of person who wants to hold a grudge. I'm just the kind of person who needs to take time to process her emotions. And sometimes that takes a long time. But like if I were to run into them, now I wouldn't be hateful towards them. I wouldn't show any signs of resentment. I would be polite. And it's not that I dislike them. I just dislike what they did. And I just, I don't know. I am glad though that I didn't let them win. Ojo is still in my life. She is still my sister. And I don't care if that's weird. I don't care. And Smeagol, he's my precious. Smeagol is my precious, and Ojo is my precious, and Celtic Woman is my precious too. I'm really lucky. I'm really blessed. Like God has just blessed me with things that have kept me going in the worst times of my life. And I can honestly say now I'm struggling, because I'm still going through some stuff right now. And it's stuff I'm working on in therapy too. And I've got to say, these shows, PB&J Otter and Bear in the Big Blue House, are really helping me heal. They're really helping me with my mental health. They're a comfort for me. And once again, like, they're an escape from reality. And there is an escape from everything I'm going through right now. And they're just like, they're keeping me going. They're healing me. It really is. They are absolutely healing me. And Smeagol, he's still healing me all the time. Just was snuggling with him. And oh, Joe, I'm really lucky. And I'm also thankful that you guys, if you guys are still watching this video, this all over the place video, thank you, because that means so much to me. And I'd like to end this video with a big, fluffy sweater hug. And Smeagol wants to give a big, fluffy sweater hug too. He says that you're all his precious. And Ojo also wants to give you a big, fluffy sweater hug. She says she loves you guys. And I really appreciate and love you guys for, for listening and for understanding and accepting me and just being so awesome. So anyway, yeah, big fluffy sweater hugs. Bye.